Hey, Mike here. I just wanted to let you know that you can listen to Dark Poutine early and ad-free on Amazon Music, included with Prime.
Welcome back to Dark Poutine. I am Michael Brown, and I see my friend.
Has it been a week already?
It has. It's been a week for everybody except us.
For us, it's been 15 minutes.
Exactly. It's
we're
only
recording.
been moments.
We're recording 2 in 1 today, folks.
So that voice you're hearing is Matthew Stockton.
It is. It's me.
Who hails from southwestern Ontario, now via Vancouver, British Columbia.
Here I am.
And I am in Langley, not Abbotsford.
And here we are.
And here we are. So let's get on it because we've got some weird ones to talk about today.
Excellent, Smithers.
The views, information, and opinions expressed during the Dark Poutine podcast are solely those of the producer and do not necessarily represent those of Curious Cast, its affiliate, Global News, nor their parent company, Chorus Entertainment.
Dark Poutine is not for the faint of heart or squeamish. Listener discretion is strongly advised. We're not experts on the topics we present, nor are we journalists. We're two ordinary Canadian schmucks chatting about crime and the dark side of history. Let's get to it. Put on your toque, grab yourself a double-double and a Nanaimo bar. It's time to scarf down some Dark Poutine.
You are responsible for obtaining and maintaining at your own cost all equipment needed to listen to Dark Poutine. Dark Poutine can be addictive. Side effects may include, but not be limited to, pausing and questioning the system, elevated heart rate, pondering humanity, odd looks from colleagues as you laugh out loud at work, family members not into true crime worrying about you. Positive side effects may include some perspectives and opinions that you disagree with, as well as some wokeness and empathy. If you don't think Dark Poutine is for you, consult your doctor immediately.
In this episode, we're diving into two Canadian legends. First, we'll look at the enigmatic legend of the Lost Lemon Mine, which has captivated treasure hunters, historians, and storytellers for over 150 years. In the autumn of 1870, somewhere deep in the rugged Canadian Rockies of BC and Alberta, two prospectors, Frank Lemon and his partner, known only as Blackjack, went looking to strike it rich. They allegedly found a promising gold strike, and their expedition spiraled into a nightmarish saga of murder, madness, and an alleged curse that has kept the mine's location hidden to this day. In the second half of the episode, we trek to the frigid expanse of Canada's northern wilderness, where a chilling tale of mystery and disappearance has captivated imaginations for nearly a century. The story of the vanishing village at Angikuni Lake, Nunavut, begins in November 1930 when fur trapper Joe Labelle allegedly stumbled upon an eerily abandoned Inuit settlement. He claimed to have found a scene frozen in time, food left hanging over cold fires, rifles discarded, and personal belongings untouched, as if the entire population had evaporated into thin air. Depending on the account, the disappearance of somewhere between 30 and 2,000 villagers sparked an investigation by the RCMP. It ignited a firestorm of speculation that continues to this day. Join us as we sift through the evidence, examine the historical context, and explore the enduring impact of these Canadian mysteries. This is Dark Poutine episode 356, Canadian Legends, The Lost Lemon Mine, and the Vanishing Village at Angikuni Lake.
You know, when I saw the title,
Yeah.
Canadian Legends, I thought we were going to talk about ourselves.
Legends in our own minds, Matthew. Legends in our own minds.
You're a legend to me, my friend.
So with all that's happening in the world today, I think it's time for a bit of a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
So what better time for a treasure-related puzzle, along with a sprinkling of intrigue, whispers of a curse, and maybe a ghost or two? So in my first book, Murder, Madness, and Mayhem, I told the story of Oak Island's money pit, and I'm surprised that I've never written an episode for Dark Poutine about Oak Island. The tale was seminal in my interest in mysteries as I grew up just down the road and have been there several times, decades before the Lagina brothers and the History Network brought their show, The Curse of Oak Island, to the world.
And folks, I can attest that Mike is a super geek Oak Island.
I don't know.
He goes on and on and on about it.
Well, it was, like I say, it was instrumental in me becoming a storyteller.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. Well, and it was your childhood as well, right?
And you have here written laughter, fun, light.
Because I was like, I'm making fun of you, but I'm not really making fun of you.
I know you're not. The mystery of the money pit on Oak Island, Nova Scotia, has captivated treasure hunters and adventurers for over 2 centuries. And the story begins in 1795 when a young Daniel McGinnis discovered a circular depression on the island along with his friends and began to dig. As they excavated, they encountered layers of timber platforms made of oak logs every 10 feet, suggesting that something valuable might be buried deep below. Over the years, numerous expeditions have attempted to uncover the secrets of the money pit, but all have been thwarted by an ingenious system of flood tunnels that fill the pit with seawater when excavators reach beyond a certain depth. This sophisticated booby trap has led many to believe that whatever is hidden in the money pit must be of immense value, with theories ranging from pirate treasure to artifacts from the Knights Templar and even the lost works of William Shakespeare. The mystery deepened as various artifacts were discovered during excavations, including a 17th century Spanish coin, fragments of ancient pottery, and even a piece of parchment with mysterious writing. These findings have only fueled speculation about the nature of the treasure and its origins, and some believe those are hoaxed as well. Adding to the intrigue is the alleged Curse of Oak Island, which states that 7 men must die in the quest to unearth the treasure before it can be found. To date, 6 people have reportedly lost their lives in the pursuit of the Oak Island mystery, lending an air of foreboding to the treasure hunt. Despite numerous setbacks and the potential danger, the allure of Oak Island's hidden treasure continues to draw explorers and investors. Over the years, many prominent figures, including Franklin D. Roosevelt, have been involved in excavation efforts. However, the true contents of the money pit remain elusive, and the mystery of Oak Island continues to captivate the imaginations of treasure seekers and history enthusiasts alike.
Yeah, and these things really take a life on their own, right?
Mm-hmm.
With each excavation effort, sort of the mythology and the mythological stature grows, right? Yep. And with each one, like more stories are woven. Like you dropped in Franklin D. Roosevelt, right? Sort of like there's another little layer to this. Like these I find these legends fun.
They really are,
right?
In episode 47 of Dark Poutine, we covered another legend and the hunt for a fabled gold mine near Maple Ridge, BC, that has eluded treasure hunters and adventurers for over 130 years. Set in the rugged mountains near Pitt Lake in British Columbia, this story blends historical facts with folklore and myth, creating a narrative that has stood the test of time. According to the legend, an indigenous man named Slumac discovered a rich gold deposit in the mountains near Pitt Lake in the late 1800s. He would periodically appear in New Westminster with gold nuggets the size of walnuts, spending his newfound wealth on various indulgences. The story suggests that Slumac would sometimes be followed by greedy individuals hoping to discover the source of his gold, but these people would mysteriously disappear. The legend takes a dark turn with Slumac's conviction and execution for murder in 1891. As he stood in the gallows, Slumac allegedly uttered his final words in Chinook, Nika Memlus, Mine Memlus, which roughly translates to, "When I die, the mine dies." This proclamation is said to have cursed the gold mine, dooming those who seek it. Since Slumac's death, the tale of his lost gold mine has attracted numerous prospectors and adventure seekers. Over the past century, hundreds, possibly thousands of people have ventured into the mountains near Pitt Lake in search of the fabled treasure. The legend claims that the mine could be worth billions, fueling the enthusiasm of treasure hunters. While the story of Slumac's gold has captured imaginations for generations, historical evidence supporting the legend is scarce. Slumac was indeed a real person who was convicted of murder and hanged in New West in 1891. However, contemporary newspaper accounts of his trial did not mention any gold. Some speculate that the gold mine story may have been a turn-of-the-century marketing ploy to boost regional tourism. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, the legend of Slumac's lost gold mine fascinates people. It has inspired books, ongoing searches, and a community of enthusiasts who share information and theories about the mine's possible location.
Yeah, so Mike, I was thinking about this.
Okay.
Pitt Lake is essentially exactly halfway between me and you, and up a little bit. I think we should go do a little search. You know, gold is now worth about $2,900 USD an ounce, and it might be worth a little walk.
Yeah. But if we find it, though, here's the problem. If we find it, is it on Crown land? Because I don't know if you can make a gold claim on Crown land anymore. That would mean the government gets it. Or we just go and find gold and then say, well, I don't know, I found it laying around.
You take the gold, you melt it down, you sell it off, and you shut the up about it.
Oh, okay. So this brings us to the Lost Lemon Mine, and we'll set the stage with the original legend as told by Senator Daniel E. Riley, who, according to author Ron Stewart, first related his story publicly in the March 1946 issue of Alberta Folklore Quarterly.
Yeah, this is more likely us, though, Mike. Go to find gold and end up with lemons.
It's true. Yeah.
I thought, why is it called Lost? I thought lemons grew on trees, dude.
Lemon is a man's name. Arg. Anyway, Senator Daniel Edward Riley's life journey began in Baltic Prince Edward Island, where he spent his early years as a school teacher. In 1882, he embarked on a westward adventure, arriving in Winnipeg and finding temporary employment with the Canadian Pacific Railway. During this time, Riley's path crossed with Bob Fennell, a former U.S. cavalryman with a colorful past as an Indian fighter and frontiersman. Fennell's captivating tales of the Wild West ignited Riley's imagination, prompting the young man to join him on a journey to Spitzy Post, a Blackfoot settlement near present-day High River, Alberta, in the spring of 1883. Their expedition led them to Medicine Hat on the South Saskatchewan River, from where they made their way to Blackfoot Crossing on the Bow River. It was here that Riley's life took a significant turn as he encountered two influential figures: George Emerson, a rancher, and Lafayette French, a multifaceted individual who worked as a trader, prospector, and cattleman. French would go on to play a pivotal role in Riley's life and his growing fascination with the Lost Lemon Mine legend. Over the next few years, Riley found himself working intermittently for French. In 1883 and 1884, French provided supplies to the indigenous people in the area who had accompanied Lemon and Blackjack, key figures in the Lost Lemon Mine story. It was likely during this period that Riley first heard the intriguing tale of the Lost Lemon Mine from French himself. As French aged, Riley remained a loyal friend, often financing his expeditions and joining him on numerous forays in the wilderness in search of the elusive mine. These adventures, coupled with French's extraordinary stories, fueled Riley's lifelong obsession with the Lost Lemon Mine. Riley's life took yet another turn as he entered the world of politics. In 1906, he was elected mayor of High River, and his political career flourished. By 1925, he had ascended to the Canadian Senate. Senator Riley's life ended in April 1948, but not before he left his mark on the Lost Lemon Mine legend. He told the tale 2 years before his death, and it goes like this. The legend of the Lost Lemon Mine is a captivating tale of greed, murder, and mystery. This story, set against the backdrop of the rugged Canadian Rockies, begins in the spring of 1870 when a group of prospectors departed from Tobacco Plains, Montana, with the intention of searching for gold along the North Saskatchewan River. Among these fortune hunters were two men known by their nicknames Blackjack and Lemon. Blackjack had earned a reputation as the finest prospector in the West, having been credited with discovering the lucrative caribou diggings in British Columbia. Both men were financially backed by Lafayette French, a seasoned indigenous trader and buffalo hunter with a keen eye for potential riches.
I want listeners to write in to suggest cool nicknames for you and I. I really want like a Blackjack and Lemon.
Yeah, it sounds like a team that goes and solves crimes in a 1970s TV show.
Cagney and Lacey.
This week on Blackjack and Lemon.
Yeah, we need a little bit of cachet. I want nicknames, people. Nicknames, send them in.
Yeah.
Don't be rude. Don't be rude.
Don't be rude. As their journey progressed, Blackjack and Lemon made a fateful decision to break away from the main party. They joined a large group of Métis led by an individual named Lanous, seeking safety in numbers against the hostile Blackfoot tribes that roamed the area. Eventually, the two prospectors parted ways with Lanous's band following an ancient indigenous trail that led them up the high river towards Tobacco Plains. During this leg of their expedition, Blackjack and Lemon's fortunes took a dramatic turn. As they made their way upstream, they noticed promising signs of gold in the river. Encouraged by these initial findings, they pressed on towards the headwaters where they stumbled upon an astonishingly rich deposit. The gold was so abundant that it could be found from the surface to the bedrock. In their excitement, they dug 2 exploratory pits and while retrieving their horses, accidentally discovered the source of the gold, a quartz vein of unimaginable wealth. The richness of their find was almost beyond comprehension. Traders who later examined samples of the ore at Fort Benton described it as resembling solid gold with only small inclusions of rock. The discovery was so significant that it would later be spoken of in hushed, reverent tones throughout the region. However, the euphoria of their incredible find was short-lived. As the two men sat around their campfire that night, a heated argument erupted between them. The dispute centered on whether they should return in the spring to exploit their discovery or remain at the site immediately. The disagreement escalated to the point where violence seemed imminent.
And at this stage, I'm like, hold it together, boys. Don't ruin this. You have a good thing going.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. But we all know how greed works.
Yeah.
As night fell and the argument subsided, both men retired to their bedrolls. But the conflict was far from over. In a moment of madness fueled by greed, Lemon quietly crept out of his blankets, grabbed an axe, and brutally murdered his sleeping partner, Blackjack. The heinous act was witnessed by 2 young men from the Stony Mountain Nation, William and Daniel Bendow, who had been secretly trailing the prospectors. Overwhelmed by the gravity of his actions, Lemon spent the rest of the night in a state of panic and remorse. He built a large fire and paced back and forth until dawn, unaware that he was being observed. The Bendows, sensing an opportunity, added to Lemon's distress by creating eerie sounds throughout the night. As the first light of day broke, Lemon hastily mounted his horse and fled across the mountains, leaving behind the site of his terrible crime. William and Daniel Bendow then ransacked the abandoned camp, taking the remaining horses before returning to their village at Morley. There they reported their observations to Chief Bearspaw, who swore the young men to eternal secrecy, fearing an influx of white settlers if news of gold spread. Lemon's journey took him to Tobacco Plains, where, consumed by guilt, he confessed his crime to a priest. He still possessed the gold they'd found on the day of the murder, as well as a sample of the incredibly rich ore. The priest recognized the gravity of the situation, dispatched a Métis mountain man named John McDougall to the scene of the crime.
Or was the priest excited about the gold?
Goodness gracious, what do you mean, Matthew? Every priest, as you know, takes a vow of poverty. Interesting. McDougall located the site, buried Blackjack's body, and constructed a cairn of stones to protect the grave from scavenging wolves. However, his efforts to mark the location were in vain. As soon as McDougall departed, Chief Bearspaw's warriors dismantled the cairn and meticulously erased all traces of the grave, effectively obscuring the last known landmark of the Lemon Mine.
I think if you, Morgan, and I got together, we could probably find this.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think we'd need her help on this one. I think we can do the Pit Lake. We can figure that one out. But
Yeah, because we can drive there.
Yeah, Morgan can help us with this one. She's more up to speed with the land.
Yeah, Alberta, BC, yeah. The winter following the murder was a difficult one for Lemon. He remained with the priest, teetering on the edge of insanity. Meanwhile, word of the rich gold strike began to spread, igniting the imaginations of fortune seekers far and wide. As soon as the spring thaw allowed for travel, a large party of miners, guided by the unstable Lemon, set out to relocate the mine. Fate, however, seemed determined to keep the Lemon mine's location a secret. Despite Lemon's efforts to retrace his steps, he could not find the site of his discovery. His failure led to accusations from the frustrated miners who believed he was intentionally misleading them, and the ensuing confrontation proved too much for Lemon's fragile mental state, and he descended into violent insanity. The expedition was forced to abandon their search and return Lemon to Tobacco Plains, from where he was sent to live out his days on his brother's ranch in Texas.
Well, Mike, it seems like he was a real lemon as a partner and a tracker.
Apparently so.
He failed.
He did. Lemon was a lemon. The priest, undeterred by this setback, organized another expedition the following year. He didn't have gold fever at all. John McDougall, who had buried Blackjack, was chosen to lead the party. However, tragedy struck again when McDougall died from excessive drinking at Fort Kipp before the expedition could begin. Subsequent attempts to locate the mine were thwarted by natural disasters such as mountain fires that destroyed the necessary grazing land for their horses. The search for the lost lemon mine became an obsession for many, including Lafayette French, who had originally staked Blackjack and Lemon. French devoted 15 years of his life to the pursuit, employing various strategies to unlock the secret of the mine's location. He even attempted to bribe the Bendow brothers who had witnessed the murder, offering them substantial rewards in exchange for information. However, the young men, bound by their oath to Chief Bearspaw and possibly fearing supernatural retribution, steadfastly refused to reveal what they knew. French's relentless quest for the lost mine was marked by a series of near misses and tragic coincidences. In one instance, he had arranged for William Bendow, one of the stony witnesses, who had finally caved, to guide him to the site. However, on the second day of their journey, William was overcome by superstitious terror and refused to continue. In a final attempt just days before his death, French had once again secured William's cooperation, only to have William die before he could reveal the mine's location. The legend of the lost lemon mine has persisted into modern times, with numerous expeditions and individual prospectors attempting to locate the elusive gold deposit. Geologists have identified a region between Crow's Nest Lake and Mist Mountain in the headwaters of the Highwood River as a potential location for the precious metal deposits. This area, a trough of the Cretaceous Sea bounded by the Paleozoic limestone of the Rocky Mountains and the Livingston Range, has been the focus of many searches. Despite the passage of time and the advances in geological surveying techniques, the lost lemon mine remains undiscovered. The legend continues to capture the imagination of modern-day treasure hunters and serves as a reminder of the perils of greed and the enduring mysteries of the Canadian wilderness. Whether the mine truly exists or is merely a product of frontier mythology, its story remains an integral part of the region's folklore, a testament to the enduring allure of hidden riches and often the tragic consequences of the quest for gold. After a quick break, we'll tackle another Canadian legend, the Vanishing Village at Angikuni Lake. And we are back. Matthew, thoughts?
Did you make up treasure maps when you were a kid?
Yeah. I did all kinds of stuff like that, yeah.
Or like just play around and convince yourself if you dug deep enough, you'd find something.
Yeah. My friend Peter Simmons and I did some digging for treasure at one point and didn't find anything.
Yeah. We used to go out, not quite treasure hunt. We used to go out to the field behind our house and find old arrowheads and sharpening flints and stuff like that.
I would have loved to find that stuff when I was a kid, but I did not.
In the early 70s where I lived, like tilled soil was rich with arrowheads and other old devices.
Interesting.
Yeah.
In the annals of unsolved Canadian mysteries, few tales are as captivating and perplexing as the alleged disappearance of an entire Inuit village near Angikuni Lake. Nestled in the vast expanse of Canada's northern wilderness, Angikuni Lake lies in the Kivalik region of Nunavut. This remote body of water, spanning about 60 square kilometers, is a part of the Cousin River system and surrounded by the Canadian Arctic's rugged beauty. Reaching Angikuni Lake is an adventure in itself, requiring careful planning and a spirit of exploration. This journey typically begins with a flight to Rankin Inlet, around 410 kilometers to the east. Rankin Inlet, also known as Kangikaninik in Inuktitut, meaning deep bay or inlet, is a significant Inuit hamlet located on the west coast of Hudson Bay in Nunavut. As of 2021, it had a population of 2,975, making it the second largest settlement in Nunavut after the territorial capital of Iqaluit. The area has been inhabited by Inuit people for centuries, with archaeological evidence suggesting Thule occupation around 1200 of the current era. The modern community of Rankin Inlet was established in 1957 following the discovery of nickel deposits. The Rankin Inlet mine operated from 1957 to 1962, providing the first case of Inuit miners in Canada. After the mine's closure, the community faced economic challenges but has diversified its economy, becoming a cultural and educational center and the travel hub of the Kivalik region. The final leg of the journey to the lake involves specialized transportation, including bush planes, snowmobiles in winter, or boats during the summer months. Due to the challenging nature of the terrain and the harsh Arctic environment, many visitors opt to arrange their trip through experienced guides or tour operators familiar with the region's unique demands. The area surrounding Angikuni Lake is characterized by its subarctic climate, with long, bitterly cold winters and short, cool summers. The landscape is a testament to the raw beauty of the north, featuring expanses of tundra, rocky outcrops, and permafrost. Wildlife enthusiasts might catch glimpses of caribou, muskoxen, or Arctic foxes that call this region home. However, the remote and unforgiving nature of the environment demands that visitors be well prepared, equipped with appropriate gear, and ready for self-sufficiency. Those who journey to Angikuni Lake are rewarded with an opportunity to experience one of the most pristine and untouched areas of the Canadian Arctic, where the silence and vastness of the landscape create an unforgettable impression on all who venture there. The lake teems with fish species such as lake trout and Arctic grayling, historically supporting the local Inuit population. The earliest recollection of this story that would captivate the world's imagination was told by a journalist named Emmett E. Kelleher from La Pas, Manitoba, in the November 27, 1930 edition of the Bee newspaper in Danville, Virginia. That's the earliest reference I could find. Joe Labelle, a seasoned fur trapper, stumbled upon a scene that would fascinate Canadian folklorists for decades to come. Labelle sensed something was amiss as he approached a small Inuit village on the shores of Angikuni Lake. The village, which Labelle had reportedly known for years, appeared intact from a distance. However, as he drew closer, an eerie silence enveloped the settlement. Calling out greetings, Labelle received no response. The absence of human activity became increasingly apparent as he ventured into the heart of the village. What Labelle discovered next was both perplexing and unsettling. The village seemed frozen in time, as if its inhabitants had vanished in the midst of their daily routines. Kelleher's article quotes Labelle directly, calling his discovery a village of the dead. The article liberally uses the outdated racist term Eskimo, and two emaciated husky dogs, presumably from the village, followed Labelle around, whining as he explored the silent residences.
Poor doggos.
Yeah.
I hope he helped them out.
You'll see he did.
Okay, good.
Labelle said, quote, "There were 6 tents made out of caribou skin. I'll admit that when I went in the first tent, I was a little jumpy. Just looking around, I could see the place hadn't known any human life for months, and I expected to find corpses inside. But there was nothing there but the personal belongings of a family. A couple of deer parkas, skin coats, were in one corner. Fish and deer bones were scattered about. There were a few pairs of boots and an iron pot greasy and black. Under one of the parkas I found a rifle. It had been there so long it was all rusty. The whole thing looked as if it had been left just that way by people who expected to come back, but they hadn't come back. Labelle continued, quote, I went outside and looked over the rest of the camp. I tell you, I was puzzled. I figured there had been about 25 people in the camp, but all signs showed the place hadn't been lived in for nearly 12 months. End quote. Abandoned kayaks lay along the shore, weather and wave-battered. Perhaps most disturbing were the fates of the village's sled dogs. Labelle reported finding 7 dead dogs still tethered to their posts, having starved to death, including the 2 that still barely clung to life, following him around. Quote, I tried to figure out where those Eskimos had gone to, Labelle said. They hadn't moved to a new territory, or they would have taken their equipment, especially their guns and their dogs. Then I thought of the Eskimos' evil spirit, Tornmark, who has an ugly man's face with 2 long tusks sticking up from each side of the nose. The natives live in fear of Tornmark. They wear charms to ward him off. End quote. Perhaps he was on the right track. Quote, I walked into another tent. One side had been ripped to ribbons by the wind. On the floor there were 3 fox skins made worthless by rain, snow, and mud. Under them was another rusty rifle. Those 2 rifles seemed strange. The last thing an Eskimo ever parts with is his rifle. End quote. Adding to the enigma, Labelle claimed to have discovered a grave that had been recently disturbed. Labelle said, quote, It was an Eskimo grave with a cairn built of stones, but for some reason the grave had been opened. The stones had been pulled off of one side and there was nothing inside the cairn at all. I had no way of telling when it had been opened or what had been done with the body it had once contained, and I couldn't figure out why it had been desecrated. I stayed around all afternoon trying to figure things out. There were no signs of any struggle. Everything looked peaceful, but the air seemed deadly. I caught a few fish out of the lake and gave them to the 2 dogs, and then I moved on. I didn't want to spend the night there. End quote. Shaken by his discovery, Labelle asked other villagers in the region whether they'd heard anything about the Angikuni Lake settlement, but no one had. When he returned to the nearest fort, Labelle reported the incident to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. According to the legend, RCMP conducted an investigation but found no trace of the missing villagers. The disappearance of an entire community, estimated between 25 and 30 people, had seemingly occurred without leaving a single clue as to their fate. Other accounts, more fantastical, would put the village population at somewhere near 2,000, but there's no evidence that that was the case. According to some versions of the story, the RCMP investigation reportedly determined that the Inuit had been missing for about 8 weeks before Labelle's arrival. However, they could not locate any of the missing villagers or determine the cause of their disappearance. Adding to the mystery, some accounts claim that RCMP officers reported seeing mysterious pulsing lights in the sky over Lake Angikuni during their investigation.
I was totally going to say alien abduction when I was hearing this story.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we've got there.
We did get there. Notably, in 1948, almost 2 decades after Labelle's claims, an intriguing discovery was made at Angikuni Lake. Famed Canadian author and explorer Farley Mowat and a companion stumbled upon an ancient cairn that stood out from typical Inuit constructions. Within this mysterious structure, they found fragments of a hardwood box featuring dovetailed corners, which was a detailed hint at its unique origin. It was not Inuit. The location of this find was particularly significant, situated near a renowned junction where Inuit trade routes connecting Churchill, Manitoba, and the Arctic coasts converged. Despite extensive research efforts, the identity of the cairn's builder remains elusive. Historical records indicated that only one white man, Samuel Hearne, had been known to visit this remote area at a reasonably distant date, specifically in 1770. While the initial assumption pointed to Hearne as the potential builder, this theory was cast into doubt by the absence of any mention of such a construction in his journals. He was meticulously writing about where he was and what he was doing. This silence opened up the possibility that the cairn might have been erected by another historical figure, Fraser Crozier, of the Franklin expedition before he vanished completely. The presence of this enigmatic monument thus added another layer of mystery to the already complex story of Arctic exploration history and Angikuni Lake. As with many tales of the unexplained, the Angikuni Lake mystery is not without its skeptics and contradictions. Several aspects of the story have been called into question. 1. Joe Labelle's credibility. Records show that Labelle had never taken out a hunting license before 1930, casting doubt on his claim of being a seasoned trapper familiar with the region. 2. Journalistic integrity. Emmett E. Kelleher, the journalist who first reported the story, had been accused of exaggeration in his previous writings. One of the photographs used in his article was proven to be decades old. 3. RCMP denial. In January 1931, the RCMP dismissed the story as fabricated and closed the case. 4. Geographical inconsistencies. The presence of kayaks so far inland is considered suspect by some researchers. The small, landlocked Angikuni Lake is far from the areas where sealskin and willow, materials used in traditional igloo kayaks, would have been available. 5. Climate considerations. The story is set in November when average temperatures are well below freezing. Critics argue that Angikuni Lake would have been frozen, making the description of kayaks battered by wave action implausible. 6. Population discrepancies. While some versions of the story describe a village of about 25 to 30 people, others have inflated this number to over 2,000, further muddying the waters of credibility. But if you really look critically at every single one of those, each one can be reasonably explained away. Just because Joe Labelle didn't take out a license doesn't mean that he wasn't hunting and trapping in that region. Maybe he was doing so illegally. As far as the journalistic integrity of Emmett E. Kelleher goes, old photographs being used prove nothing. People use old photographs and video in all kinds of news stories today. Doesn't mean they're lying about it, although some are. As far as the RCMP denial goes, sure, let's dismiss this as fabricated because it's a hassle for us to drag ourselves how many hundreds of miles into the wilderness to figure out that a village of people who we have a history of not really caring about has gone missing. We see these attitudes reflected in missing persons cases today. As far as the geographical inconsistencies go, maybe they did bring their kayaks portaging from one place to the other. That's not unreasonable to think about. As far as the climate considerations go, yes, Labelle claims to have found the village in November, but perhaps the weather and wave beating of the kayaks happened months before when the water wasn't frozen. And the population discrepancies, I mean, come on. Labelle did not say that there were 2,000 people. Those came later. This is ridiculous. Despite these inconsistencies and the lack of concrete evidence, the Angikuni Lake mystery has taken on a life of its own. It's been featured in numerous books, documentaries, podcasts, and articles over the years, each retelling adding new layers to the legend. Frank Edwards' 1959 book, Stranger Than Science, significantly popularized the story, introducing it to a broader audience nearly 3 decades after the alleged incident. Since Edwards recounted the story, it has been incorporated into works of fiction, including Whitley Strieber's Majestic and Dean Koontz's Phantoms, further cementing its place in popular culture. The alleged disappearance of the Inuit village near Angikuni Lake, Nunavut, has sparked numerous theories over the years, each attempting to explain the mysterious event. Some researchers propose that a sudden natural disaster could have forced the villagers to evacuate quickly. The harsh Arctic environment is prone to unpredictable weather events, and a flash flood or avalanche might have posed an immediate threat to the village. This theory suggests that the villagers had to leave hurriedly, abandoning their belongings and food supplies. However, critics argue that such a catastrophic event would likely have left behind physical evidence, which was reportedly not found at the scene. But this can be reasonably explained away too. Perhaps they had been wrong about their predictions.
Yeah, it was aliens.
Another plausible explanation is that the village faced severe food shortage or a deadly disease outbreak. Food scarcity was a constant threat in the unforgiving Arctic climate, and a failed hunting season could have dire consequences. Similarly, introducing a new pathogen could have devastated the small, isolated community. Proponents of this theory argue that the villagers might have left in search of food or medical assistance. However, this doesn't fully explain why they would leave their weapons and food supplies behind.
Maybe because it was aliens.
Intertribal warfare or the threat of an attack from another group could explain a hasty departure. The Arctic regions were not immune to conflicts between different Inuit groups or with other indigenous peoples. If the villagers received a warning of an impending attack, they might have chosen to flee rather than face a superior force. This theory, however, fails to account for the lack of signs of struggle or violence reported by Joe Labelle.
Aliens.
Arg. Some conspiracy theorists suggest that the Canadian government might have relocated the village for undisclosed reasons. This theory often ties into broader narratives about government secrecy and control. However, there's no credible evidence to support this claim, and it seems unlikely that such a large-scale operation could have been carried out without leaving any trace or being recorded in any official documents.
However, Mike, honestly, moving First Nations people off their lands, God save our souls, is super plausible.
Yeah.
That it's we got to that part, I'm like, oh, oof.
Yep.
Oh, shit.
More fanciful theories involve everything from alien abductions to interdimensional portals. These ideas have gained traction due to reports of strange lights in the sky around the time of the disappearance, and while these theories capture the imagination, they lack scientific credibility and are generally dismissed by serious researchers.
Yeah, but they're kind of fun because they're fanciful, and I'm fancy.
And it's aliens, Matthew.
And it's aliens.
Yeah. Some psychologists propose that Joe Labelle might have experienced a vivid hallucination possibly triggered by the isolation and harsh conditions of the Arctic. This theory suggests that the story of the vanishing village could be the result of a psychological phenomenon rather than an actual event. However, this doesn't explain the alleged involvement of the RCMP in the investigation. Skeptics argue that the entire story might have been a fabrication or misinterpretation of normal Inuit migratory patterns. This theory is supported by the lack of official records corroborating the disappearance and inconsistencies in various accounts of the event. Some researchers suggest that the story may have been embellished or entirely fabricated by early reporters seeking a sensational story.
Yeah, again, really plausible, and who knows? It was a small village. Maybe they just moved on, and the white guys that found this were like, why would they leave that behind? And there could have been perfectly viable reasons for, we got other stuff in the next encampment or something.
Journalism wasn't exactly journalism back in those days.
Yeah.
People talk about fake news now. Honestly, there was a lot of fake news at that time. A lot. People heard a little snippet of a story and they would write a whole friggin' article about it, and those things got legs. And
just literally make crap up.
Crap up to sell papers.
Glad we're back to that again.
The legend of the vanishing village has left an indelible mark on the region's culture. Today, some view Angikuni Lake as a cursed place and a center of paranormal activity. Local tourism has been affected, with curious visitors drawn to the area hoping to unravel the mystery, while others avoid it out of superstition. The story has also become intertwined with other legends of vanishing communities, such as the tale of the Kuldara in India, where an entire village allegedly disappeared overnight to escape persecution. In recent years, researchers have employed modern techniques to investigate the Angikuni Lake mystery, hoping to shed light on the alleged disappearance of this Inuit village. Satellite imagery has been used to scan the area for any remnants of the settlement, but no conclusive evidence has been found. Limited archaeological surveys on the ground have complemented this aerial approach. Teams have searched the region for artifacts or structures that could be linked to the vanished village, yet their efforts have yielded no definitive proof. Scholars have also delved into historical research examining Inuit oral histories and Canadian governmental records for any corroboration of the story. While this approach has provided some intriguing leads, success has been limited with no concrete evidence emerging from these sources. In a novel approach, climate scientists have analyzed historical weather patterns in the region, attempting to determine if any unusual events in 1930 could explain the alleged disappearance. They've sought to understand whether extreme weather conditions might have played a role in the village's fate, potentially forcing an evacuation or causing a natural disaster. Despite these varied and sophisticated investigative efforts, the Angikuni Lake mystery remains unsolved.
You know, I'm sitting here, Mike, like, it's kind of a weird connection, but I'm like, so many people went into trying to find out what happened to this village, and I'm sitting here thinking of like all the missing kids from residential schools. Like my mind just went there.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be great if everyone like gung ho went in to try to figure out what happened. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I often feel frustration about the lack of accountability. Like, who are the kids? How did they die? Who killed them? Like, and this isn't like a long time ago. There's probably still people around that could be held accountable. I just don't get how it's like kind of this news story, then it disappears, and there's a news story and it disappears, and there's a news story and it disappears. It's weird.
It is weird. Perhaps one day we'll find out a little bit more truth around that. Residential schools is a topic that we'll talk about extensively someday. Whether fact or fiction, the Angikuni Lake mystery has left a lasting imprint on Canadian folklore and the global pantheon of unsolved mysteries. Regardless of its veracity, the story of Angikuni Lake powerfully reminds us of the vast, untamed wilderness that still exists in our world and the countless mysteries waiting to be uncovered. It challenges us to question our assumptions, seek evidence rigorously, and remain open to the possibility that truth can sometimes be stranger than fiction. As we continue to explore our planet and unravel its secrets, tales like the Angikuni Lake mystery remind us of the enduring allure of the unknown and the human drive to make sense of the inexplicable. Whether it's a lost village in the Canadian Arctic or any other unsolved mysteries, these stories compel us to keep searching, questioning, and wondering about the world around us. And that's it for Dark Poutine episode 356, Canadian Legends, The Lost Lemon Mine and the Vanishing Village at Angikuni Lake.
That's right. It's time for voicemails. You can leave us a message at 1-877-327-5786 or 1-877-DARK-PTN. We'd love to hear from you. Let's see who called us this week.
We don't have any voicemails this week, so let's move on. Again, you can leave us one at 1-877-327-5786 or 1-877-DARK-PTN. We'd love to hear from you, even if it is just to say hi and to tell us to go shit in our hats. If you're stumped for what to chat with us about, a quick story is welcome. Alrighty, we do have a we do have a patron this week, and our new patron is Courtney Morris, and Courtney is from Keene, California, in the United States of America.
Keene?
Keene, California. Keene.
How do you spell that?
Keene. Keene.
Okay.
Yep.
That's cool.
It's Keene with an E.
I've never heard of that place
Peachy
before.
Keene. Yeah, I don't know where it is, or what the industry there is, or any of that kind of thing. So let's figure out what on earth Courtney Morris does there in Keene, California. It looks like it's out in the mountains, which is really nice, actually.
She doesn't live far from Bear Valley Springs.
Okay, and what's Bear Valley Springs?
I have no idea, but I'm beginning to think that she is... Who's that woman that lived with the apes?
Oh my gosh, why can't I think of her name right now? Anyway, I know who you mean.
Yeah.
Gorillas in the Mist kind of thing.
What's her name?
I can't remember.
Anyway.
Okay, I'll look it up and then I'll have to fucking edit.
You should know these things.
Should I? Diane Fossey.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're thinking of Diane Fossey.
Yeah. So I think Courtney is the Diane Fossey of bears.
Really?
Yeah.
There's lots of wineries around. You sure she doesn't work at a winery somewhere?
No. She is understanding the deep, complex social structures of bears.
Well, good for her. Someone's got to do it. And it's obviously not the guy from the Werner Herzog movie Grizzly Man, because he did not really understand the bears like he thought he did, because they ate him.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is Courtney lives at an elevation of 2,602 feet.
So it's like in the mountains.
That's 793 meters.
That's quite high up there. Like that's nosebleed level, is it not? Yeah.
Anyway, yep, bears. Thanks, Courtney. Thanks for figuring out those bears. Next time, if you ever come up to Vancouver, I'll take you to the gay village. You can try to figure out those bears, because I can never figure them out.
Why do you need to figure bears out, Matthew? Aren't you one of them?
I am not a bear.
Okay.
I am not nearly chunky enough to be a bear.
Oh, you're not chunky. I wouldn't call you chunky.
I'm just a gay dude.
You're just a gay dude. You don't want to classify yourself.
No, I'm not into that.
You're not into.
You know, when I grew up, Mike, in London, Ontario, there was like very few bars, right?
Yep.
And one was called Gay Bars. One was the Halo Club, and everyone went there. Mm-hmm. Right? The all these like subcultures of gays and lesbians and trans friends, and it was just, because it was a small town and it was the 80s and it was rough, everyone stuck together, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone stuck together, and you know, when you get to bigger cities, it dissipates into these little tribes, you know?
Yeah.
I just find it interesting. But you know, I like the early days when everyone sort of stuck together in a smaller city like that.
Yeah.
It's you know, they're darker times, you know, but at the same time there's a real sense of community together.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, we're on to PayPal, and we have a couple of PayPal donors this week. Okay. We have Sonia Rockwell, and Sonia says, "Dream cookies." I don't know what dream cookies refers to, but whatever, dream cookies. I'm good with that. I want cookies in my dream. So where is Sonia Rockwell from, number one? And then what does she do, number two? She doesn't do number two. Well, everybody does number two. But...
So Sonia Rockwell is from Paris, and she designs bold avant-garde knitwear.
Bold avant-garde knitwear.
Yeah.
Wow, Sonia, thank you so much for supporting us. I mean, dream cookies is sort of an avant-garde thing to say.
And Malcolm McLaren, Sonia, look this up on Spotify. Malcolm McLaren has a song about you called "Who the Hell is Sonia Rockwell?"
Oh, interesting.
No, honestly, if you type that in, you're going to find the song. Sonia, give it a listen.
Who the hell is Sonia Rockwell?
Yeah.
It's a real song.
Yeah, there's a slight word change to it, but if you type in "Who the hell is Sonia," you'll find the song.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sonia. Next up, we have our British friend Steve Heaton is back, and Steve says, "Have a cup of tea and English scone on me, better than a donut." I agree, actually. Also treated myself to both of your books on Audible, so can listen while working. All the best, guys. Steve Heaton. Wow, thank you, Steve, so much. I really appreciate that.
I'm gonna have a cup of Assam tea.
Assam? I really like Earl Grey. Earl Grey is kind of nice.
We're an Assam family. Strong, a very strong multi tea.
It's Indian, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense, seeing as your husband has some of that heritage.
Yeah, we do tea properly here, but considering my husband's half Indian, half English. Right?
Yeah, right. I don't know how to make a good cup of tea. I really don't. I've never learned.
Most Canadians can't.
Well, maybe, Matthew, we should do a bit of a how-to at some point.
I'll show you. I'll show you.
Yeah, I would really appreciate that. We can record it and put it online. That would be fun. That would actually be fun. People would like that.
You know what I'd love to do someday, Mike, is go to like a Japanese tea ceremony.
I would love to do that. That would be a blast doing that. I do believe my friend Dave, who lives in Okayama, Japan, he and his wife do that. They have done Japanese tea ceremonies. So, maybe it's time to go to Okayama. I would like to visit them.
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. Thanks to all our patrons and Donut Money donors, past and present, for your generosity. It helps to keep the show going. You can become a patron of Dark Poutine at patreon.com/darkpoutine. For a one-time donation, you can send us donut money via PayPal or interact using our email address, darkpoutinepodcast@gmail.com. If you don't already subscribe to the show, it would mean a lot if you did. You can easily find Dark Poutine on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. If you haven't gotten yours yet, my 2 books are available to order via links on the Dark Poutine website or anywhere fine books are sold. And speaking of darkpoutine.com, check it out for show notes and other cool stuff. We'd appreciate it if you gave Dark Poutine a like or a follow on Facebook and Instagram. Most importantly, thank you for listening. Tell your friends about us. Word of mouth is a powerful thing. And that's it for this episode of Dark Poutine. So until next time, don't forget to be a good egg and not a bad apple.
Yeah, I think let's try to be good eggs. It's to make the world a little bit better than it is right now.
Let's be kind to each other.
Be nice.
Yeah, go and hug a tree.
Or me. You can hug me anytime you want.
Okay.
Not you, Mike, the listeners.
Boo.